From KELOLAND Media Group, an Inside KELOLAND Health Beat special, Student Health and Back to School.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Don Jorgensen. In less than 2 weeks, schools across KELOLAND will begin welcoming students back into the classroom. This week on Inside KELOLAND, we're focusing on student health ahead of the new school year. With COVID-19 still a big concern, we have advice from a local doctor. Plus, dealing with the added stress of the pandemic, we're going to hear from a mental health counselor. And the importance of a healthy diet. A Hy-Vee dietitian joins us with some ideas for parents and students. And also this week, a new study sheds light on how coaches and players can help reduce head impacts in youth football. Well, as the Delta variant continues to surge in other parts of the country, concern for those who are not vaccinated is on the rise. And that includes kids under the age of 12 who are currently not eligible for the COVID vaccines. KELOLAND's Tom Hansen talks with a local doctor.
While it doesn't seem to be any more severe than the original COVID-19 virus, scientists have determined that the Delta variant spreads more easily. Kids are less likely to get seriously ill, but Dr. Michael Elliott says there are plenty of cases of pediatric COVID-19 that have turned serious.
It would be horrible for people to think that their children are not at risk. That is just absolutely wrong. Their children are at risk.
Dr. Elliott says they're starting to find long-haul complications in 10 to 20% of people who have had COVID, including mild cases. So a child could develop complications later on. He says he is telling parents to take a layered approach to precautions, such as social distancing, hand washing, and masks.
Some people are going to be very risk averse and they're going to want to do all the layers. Some people are going to want to say, you know, I'll take some cautions, but not all of them. I still feel the need to live. So vaccines, when they become available to kids younger than 12, highly recommend that they consider getting their children vaccinated. That is a wonderful strategy.
Dozens of families were out enjoying the nice day at Sertoma Park in Sioux Falls today. Of the half dozen parents I spoke with, not a single one was overly concerned with the spread of the Delta variant. In fact, for Madison Dotterwich, who's visiting from Faribault, Minnesota, COVID fatigue has set in.
I don't really care. I mean, we never got COVID and we went a lot of places the whole time, so
you feel pretty safe for your kids then?
Yeah, we're not worried.
Madison says they took precautions when the pandemic first hit, but now they just want to live life normally.
My cautionary statement is the virus doesn't care. It doesn't care if we're tired. It doesn't care if we're over it. It's going to spread through natural selection. It's going to find vulnerable populations, vulnerable communities, and it is going to continue to spread.
Tom Hansen reporting. Now we're going to continue on this topic. Joining us in the studio now is Dr. Jeremy Cowles, Chief Physician for Sanford Health. Doctor, thanks for being with us. When it comes to COVID-19, how does this year look different than last year?
I would say that the difference is probably that this virus is what I would call new and improved. It is still the same COVID virus, but we're into what we call the Delta variant. And the Delta variant is simply a virus that does a better job of being infectious.
It's more transmittable, is that what I keep hearing?
It's more transmittable. Recently, someone has even put it in the same category as chickenpox.
Interesting. Well, earlier this month, the CDC, as you know, updated its guidelines for schools, which includes wearing masks. And right now, a lot of schools don't plan on requiring them. How do families navigate different approaches like this?
I think it's important to recognize that every family at this point is being given the ability to sort of make their own choices, to be able to understand their own risk. And I think it's important to recognize that while the vaccination is still the best tool that we have, both for preventing you personally from getting the virus, as well as preventing you from spreading the virus to other members of your family. Tools like masking and other layers of protection are things that we can add on if that layer of vaccine protectiveness in your family doesn't seem to have done the job that you wanted.
What advice would you have for parents when it comes to letting children take part in activities and hanging out with friends, especially right now with the Delta variant?
One of the things that we've seen, particularly in activities and in schools, is that when done well with precautions taken, with kids adequately spaced, and particularly with outdoor activities like many are in the fall, is that children and athletes can be relatively safe. And so what I would tell people is, if your kid is old enough to get vaccinated, by all means vaccinate them. If, in fact, I can tell you that I have 3 kids, a pair of 13-year-olds and a 16-year-old, and I vaccinated all of them. And in that regard, I'm very comfortable saying that my kids can go out and do the things that they want to do when they want to do them with a fair amount of safety.
And we keep hearing a lot of things about if you're vaccinated, why should you wear a mask?
The Delta variant, the new variant that's out there, has proven itself to be better at spreading. And it proves itself to be better at spreading whether you're vaccinated or not. Now, vaccinated is still better than unvaccinated, even in that spreading discussion. But I think it's important to recognize that for some folks, even vaccinated doesn't decrease the risk enough, and they're still worried about that. And for those folks, a mask is another layer of protection.
And we do know that the vaccines are 90-some% effective, not 100% effective, correct?
Correct. In folks with a normal immune system, we get up into the range of 95% plus.
Well, while COVID is really in the spotlight, let's talk about general health and the importance of keeping up on regular doctor's appointments and immunizations. How important are those?
I think regular doctor's visits and regular immunizations are absolutely important. The things that we've seen over the course of years is that things like measles outbreaks still occur, and that we can continue to vaccinate our kids for those. If you're an adult, health maintenance still is an important detail that we need to keep up with. Before the pandemic, Sanford Health diagnosed a case of breast cancer every single day. During the pandemic, we diagnosed a case of breast cancer once a week, which means there's 6 extra cases out there that we still have to catch up on, and we need everybody to come in and make sure they get evaluated.
Well, some final thoughts, Doctor, as we get ready to send our kids back into the classroom. What should they know going in?
What they should know, number one, is that your schools have done a wonderful job of preparing their kids and their teachers for how to stay distanced and how to make sure they keep safe in their classroom. Number two, if your child is eligible for the vaccine, make sure they get it. It's the best and safest way to make sure they stay safe throughout the school year. And number three, if after those things are done, if you're still not sure your child is safe and you still want them to go back to school, which is the best way for kids to learn, have them wear a mask. It's still an appropriate way to cut down that risk one step further.
All right, Dr. Culls, thank you so much for being on Inside KELOLAND. We appreciate your knowledge and your time. Well, school districts across South Dakota are still working to finalize their plans for dealing with COVID in the new school year. So far, a majority of schools that we've heard from don't plan to require masks. You can see which schools have responded to our Continue to Learn survey and what their plans are so far. Find the 2021 KELOLAND Return to Learning Survey responses under the Back to School page on KELOLAND.com. We're going to take a quick break. Coming up next, though, we're going to sit down with a mental health counselor on ways to help students deal with the added stress of COVID-19. Welcome back to Inside KELOLAND. The COVID-19 pandemic has affected everyone's life in one way or another. Now, all the uncertainty and the added stress of COVID-19 can take a toll on students' mental health. One example, surveys done by The Ohio State University of more than 1,000 randomly selected students in August of 2020 and April of this year found increased anxiety, depression, burnout, and unhealthy coping mechanisms during the pandemic, along with less physical activity. No matter what the age, though, taking care of your mental health is important. Joining me now is Caitlin Belden, clinical mental health counselor with Catholic Family Services. Thanks for being with us, Caitlin. The pandemic has brought out a lot of changes and uncertainty. We know that. And how has that impacted children's mental health?
Yeah, so mental health is our psychological, our social, our emotional well-being. So it impacts how we think, how we act, the different things we're doing. And so we've seen a large impact on children just in increased worry, not knowing, am I going to go back to school? Am I not going to go back to school? And an increased fear of what happens if we have to go back to virtual learning.
How does that affect their day-to-day activities?
I think kids are resilient, right? And so most of the time they can get through their day-to-day activities. If they are impacted, we're going to see maybe regression in behavior. So going back to behaviors that they've grown out of, such as having nightmares, bedwetting, fear of leaving parents, things of that nature.
So how can students deal with the added stress of COVID, and maybe how can parents help them?
Yeah, so the biggest thing is parents modeling healthy coping skills. Kids learn from the adults around them, and so if you as a parent are able to display healthy coping skills, then your children is going to be able to follow suit. Some ways of doing that: letting your kid have control in child-safe ways, teaching them, like, not everything is out of control, helping them learn how to do breathing activities, creating opportunities for them to play, to go outside, to interact with other peers, things of that nature.
You know, from your experience professionally, is there a real fear for children when it comes to COVID-19?
I think there is, and it's not so much is somebody in my family going to get COVID, but how is this going to impact my day-to-day life with school? I know in talking with a young boy one time, he just shared, when my teachers are whispering and when I see that, it makes me worried because whispers mean things aren't good all the time. And so kids are paying attention. They know if we're worried, they should be worried too.
When the pandemic first started, did you take a lot of phone calls about fears with children and the COVID? Did they have a lot of questions? And has it tapered off some?
Yeah, I think in the summer it generally tapers off. So that has been very typical of what we've seen in previous years. But as COVID began, we definitely did take an increase in phone calls from parents. Just how do I support my child, or having increased worry for their child's well-being. I do anticipate as the school year begins that that'll be a trend. There's been a 24% increase in parents with children between the ages of 5 and 11 seeking advice from pediatricians about increased anxiety, increased depression.
You're not an educator, but how important is it for a student to have in-person learning as to virtual learning, and how does that affect their psyche?
Yeah, correct. I'm not an educator, but it really impacts their comfortability with other individuals. So if I've had to stay in my home for a year, it can increase social anxiety, fear of being around other people. And it really, play is a child's language, and so being able to go and play with friends and be on the playground, that's how they express themselves. So we kind of take that away from them when they're not able to go and interact with people.
Yeah, makes sense. So what are some ways that students can manage stress in general?
Yeah, so kind of the same as like if it were COVID stress or regular stress, right? We want to teach them healthy coping skills. We might have them do breathing. I am not going to demonstrate today, but there's lots of different ways that teachers can do breathing activities in the classroom, helping coach kids through that throughout the day. They might get to go home and take like a bath and relax, letting them listen to music. I think the biggest one is giving your child space to share about what they're experiencing and not making them feel bad for it, and just really acknowledging that it's there. We don't always have to make it better, if that makes sense.
Caitlin, last question. What are the warning signs and things like depression and anxiety that parents and others should be looking out for?
Yeah, so some warning signs are going to be the increased worry, separation anxiety, not wanting to leave mom or dad, withdrawing, so spending more time in their bedrooms, away from family, away from friends. We're going to look at if there's regressive behaviors, so things they have previously grown out of. Not wanting to interact with friends is a big one, I think, for teens and middle schoolers.
Is there a certain age group that we're talking about here with kids?
It's across the board. I think I'm thinking elementary all the way through high school as we speak today. It has impacted all of them at a different level. And I think the biggest thing is if you're concerned about your child, reach out. You reach out to a guidance counselor, reach out to a pastor at your local church. They're going to have resources for you. And it might be that your child is okay, but it's always good to just check in and see where they're at.
Get some answers. All right. Okay. Thank you, Caitlin Belda, and mental health counselor. Appreciate your time. We are going to continue our discussion on student health ahead of the school year. From school lunch ideas to afternoon snacks, we're going to hear from a dietitian on healthy food options. That's coming up after the break. Whether it's fixing a meal or a midday snack or dealing with a picky eater, finding health food options for your child can be challenging. Hy-Vee dietitian Melissa Vondrak joins us now with some ideas to help. First off, though, Melissa, talk about the importance of good nutrition.
Yeah, nutrition is very important, especially for young kids as they're developing. We want to make sure we have plenty of calcium for good, strong, healthy bones, protein for building muscle as your child grows. So really, no matter how old you are, good nutrition is very important. So I'm here today to show you some different examples.
I see that. You have come prepared. Is there anything left at the store at Hy-Vee?
Yes,
cleaned them out, it looks like.
I think there's a little bit left.
So what are some healthy options for those school lunches and snacks?
Yeah, so first of all, I always like to focus healthy lunch ideas on the My Plate. So you see here broken down into 5 different food groups. We got, half of our plate fruits and vegetables, a quarter of our plate grains, some protein, and then a serving of dairy. So some different examples. One thing I like to do as an idea for parents with children, and also it gives kids a chance to help pick out their own lunch and may encourage them to want to help pack their lunch or even be encouraged to eat their lunch, is dividing out the different food groups into different containers. So I have here, we've got dairy, protein, fruit, vegetables, grains, and then I even have a spot for some treats. So some different examples that I have for the dairy are things like some yogurt. Chobani has these great drinkable yogurts. That's kind of like a Go-Gurt, only a little bit healthier. We got some low-fat milk here, cottage cheese. These are like a yogurt pouch, cheese sticks. These are all great options for helping your kids get some dairy in. If your kid has any dairy allergies, Ripple milk is a great option. Ripple has a new line of the kids product here. So it's a pea-based protein. Here we've got protein options. We've got there's even Starkist has a lunch to go option, hard-boiled eggs, almonds, packaged chicken or tuna packs. These are all some great options for protein, peanut butter, or if your kid has any peanut allergy or your school doesn't allow peanuts, there are different options such as the Wow Butter. It's a great peanut-free option. When it comes to the fruits, we've got things like bananas, oranges, apples. These That's It bars are a great option that are just natural fruit dried into a bar. We've got canned fruit. These squeezable pouches of the applesauce is a great fun option for kids. And then vegetables. We've got some things like carrots, canned peas or green beans. These holy guacamole cups are always fun.
Veggies is a tough one for kids, isn't it?
Yes, veggies is a tough one, so you want to make it fun. You want to make it fun for them. And again, when you give them the chance to choose their own food, they're going to be more encouraged to try it. And then over here, we've got different grain options. For example, we have the minute rice that just takes a minute to heat up in the microwave. We've got things like wheat thins, popcorn, whole grain, whole wheat tortillas, also a great option for a quick, easy roll-up sandwich. We've also got these nut thins, a great crunchy snack option, maybe as an alternative to potato chips, a little bit healthier. And then I like to have a little category for treats, so maybe teaching your kids moderation with sweets and treats as well. So maybe having that for like one day a week, maybe it's Friday or something, where you let your kid pick something from the sweet treat container here. So we've got things such as the Enjoy Life mini cookies. These are also free of the top 8 food allergens, so also great if your kid has any food allergies. Kind Bars has these kid-friendly granola bars that kids like a whole lot more. Pudding cups, Made Good bars. These are just a sample of different ideas and options.
Absolutely. You got the 5 a day, but don't forget about the treats. Now, Melissa, Hy-Vee has the several free virtual events focused on children's health. Tell us about those.
Yes, so during the month of August, we have a virtual event called Love Your Lunch, and with it you get 2 weeks of lunch ideas, meal ideas for adults and children, for different snack ideas as well. So the cost is only $5. You can sign up online. We've also got different virtual kids tours focused on the food groups. We've got different kids cooking classes that are divided into different age groups.
Yeah, some good events as kids get ready to head back to school. Okay, Melissa, thank you so much for being here. We're going to take a quick break. Right after this, a new study finds head impacts in youth football have dropped significantly. How coaches and students are playing a role. Back to school means student athletes are gearing up for fall sports. A local study could have a big impact on youth football across the country. It turns out that the right kind of coaching can be just as important as a good helmet. KELOLAND's Carter Schmidt talked with a researcher along with players and coaches who have seen the difference on the field.
Sanford researchers spent 8 years studying youth football.
So a lot of people have the question, is it safe more dangerous now than it was in the past, or is it safer?
For the study, players wore helmet-mounted sensors. From 2012 to 2019, there was a 79% decrease in head impacts.
Our outcome measures were primarily focused on those head impact frequency numbers. We also did look at the severity measures as well, but the big changes we saw were in the number of impacts that players experienced.
Researchers say players and coaches may have played a role in that change. During practice, coaches have been focused on teaching kids to physically keep their head out of the game to avoid injuries.
And the way that coaches teach the game and instruct the game, and also ways in which players play the game and go about and have, how they tackle and how they block.
We're all required to go through training each year with USA football. So we've had in the past trainers come out, and we go through all the drills and skills that we're going to be teaching the kids.
That training resonates with the players.
Drop down, get low, keep your head up. Don't want to drop your head, go into someone else just with your head. That's just for me. Just keep my head up, go low.
Well, they teach us to put our shoulder into them instead of our head. Keep our head out of the play.
All techniques that keep players safe on the field.
That's what we're about, is being safe and working with the kids and making sure that they, not only safe in hitting, but they're hydrated on hot days and so on and so forth.
And now there is proof that it's making a difference. In Sioux Falls, Carter Schmidt, KELOLAND News.
Munt says that they will continue to study head impacts and have already started this year. To read more about the study, you can see a link attached to this story on our website. And while you're on our website, make sure to check out our special Back to School page. There you're going to find all of our recent stories along with a link to school supply lists and school start dates from schools across KELOLAND. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Be sure to join us again next week for more on what's going on inside KELOLAND. I'm Don Jorgensen. Thanks for watching.